Hello, everyone. You are all welcome back to Nebo TV. My name is Nekpe Obasoge. We are here today to reflect on the ongoing restitution of Benin artifacts from Germany, the United Kingdom, and other Western countries. Few years ago, the German Museum promised to return more than 1,000 Benin artifacts back to Nigeria. And some people felt it was a proactive step towards healing the British colonial violence in Benin. However, over these years, we haven't received any updates about the return of these artifacts from Germany. So we're here today to discuss what exactly is keeping Germany from returning those artifacts. So we have some special guests with me. Here in the studio today, we have our mommy all the way from New York, Lady Abiomo Ogbewe. She's here today with us in the studio. We have a Princess, Dr. Princess Owowo Teresa Iyase Odosi. She's joining us all the way from Abuja. We have Mr. Addison Ode. He's joining us from Germany. Barrister NY Fred Ogeriahe is joining us from Ireland. I welcome you all to today's program as we continue to campaign for the return of Benin artifacts back to Nigeria. So I will call Mr. Addison to update us about what exactly is causing this delay.
Okay, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, sir. Yeah.
Right. I thank all my co-guests as well. The fact why I have a little bit knowledge of everything, because I am the president of BACO, the Benin Artifacts Repatriation Campaign Organization worldwide, but has a seat in Germany. So I meet some of these museum officials regularly. So I have little knowledge about it. But the fact is that, yes, there was a plan that all these artifacts are going to be sent, or not all though, because the agreement that they entered with Nigeria was that some will be kept here and some will be returned back to Nigeria. On the German aspect of it, that these artifacts are going to be a property of Nigeria and is going to be returned to Nigeria and to the Nigerian government. Probably on a governmental level, those state government will have access to them, a kind of, depend on how the agreement was structured. So, but as they were returning the 22, if I'm not mistaken, 21 or 22 that were returned to Abuja, and then in early this year, I had opportunity, I was invited to a program in museum here in Hamburg. The artist Ediawa happens to be there as well. So, and the man who led these artifacts to Benin, to Nigeria, Dr. Andre Gogan, he was there as well, and some other prominent people. So I put the question before then that these artifacts, that when I had a meeting on behalf of BACO with the ambassador that was really fighting for it here, that make all the things possible, Ambassador Tuga, Yusuf Tuga, I told him then that if artifacts are being returned to Nigeria and they are not taken to Benin, we will open a new front. And that new front will be a different campaign altogether. Because these artifacts were taken, they were stolen when Nigeria was not in existence. And since the king is still there, the kingdom still functions, this artifact had to be taken to Benin. So at the end of the day, Gordon and the Nigeria Commissioner of Museum then, Professor Tijani, I accused him directly. So he now told me, no, I got false information. So at the end of the day, they told me these artifacts were taken to Benin and they don't have the facility to keep them in Hamburg. I mean, so in Abuja. So after that meeting, after the whole show, he came to me privately and I apologized to him that I thought they were in Abuja. He now said no. He gave me his number. Call me if there's more information. I will be updating you, and I'll apologize. Then Andreas Gogen came and he did the same thing. I said, we love you. We want you to be out. We will be furnishing you with information. So having said that, the delay, why all these things now, indirectly they are put on hold. They are in eyes at the moment. Because when those artifacts were taken to Nigeria, the German government had the belief it's going to be kept by the Nigerian government. To his credit, the past president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, he kept his promise by saying these artifacts will be returned to Benin, and he actually returned them to Benin and under the custody of the Oba of Benin. So for the Germans, this did not go well. For reason I don't know. They said these artifacts should not be given to Benin Kingdom because they are not dealing with Nigeria, Benin Kingdom, and they are dealing with Nigerian government. So the whole thing in the German publication here, most of their news media here said, especially, not to make mistake, especially when Tinubu came aboard. Tinubu now said every artifact that come from Europe or wherever in the world will be given to the Oba of Benin. So the German publication here, their news media, they were kind of embarrassed by saying Germany has been duped. Germany had been duped. So then there was a program where I was called, I think that was 3 months ago, to speak in a museum on behalf of Edo people. And I'll make it clear that the German government were not duped. I have the video myself, that they were not duped. That these artifacts, I compared them to the Jews that suffer Holocaust in Germany. Their properties were not returned to Israel, they were returned to individuals, the children. So in this case, these artifacts were taken from the Benin Kingdom, and the custodian of Benin people is the Oba of Benin. So these artifacts will be taken to Benin. Now, the only thing we can do, Nigerian government can do, is to help build a museum there, which probably will be under the Nigerian government or probably under the Oba government, Oba himself, I don't know. But the custodian is to the owner of these artifacts because they were taken when Nigeria was not in existence. So a museum like Hanover, which were made to return most of the highest number, are now putting it on hold, said they will not do it because they are going to the Oba of Benin. The dilemma of all these things is that we that were putting pressure on them on the campaign, we are taking a back seat. We are slide back a little bit because of the kind of, I won't qualify, the disagreement between the government and the palace, which we were caught in the middle. We were like, we don't know whether we are helping the right, we don't know whether we are helping the left, and there was a warning from every side that we shouldn't solicit for this, we shouldn't solicit for that. Whereas what we were doing it capitally from our own side of it to be just acting like a normal Benin man that had to fight for the injustice that was mattering against those people. So these things now, nobody is pushing the German government, and they are not ready to come to terms again, except the minister then that took this thing to Nigeria. She said, we have given this thing to Nigeria. We don't care what Nigeria is going to do with it. That whatever is being kept is Nigerian government. That government now, they are no longer in power. So presently, we are dealing with a different government in Germany because that was a CDU, which was a kind of I don't know, I don't want to use that language anyway, but that government is no longer in power. We have a different government now. So, and at the moment, we are not really speaking to them like that. I still know few ones among them, but we're not really dealing with them directly, and nobody is dealing with them directly. So for them, they just relax. So that is the reason why there is the delay at the moment. And because Germany is not pushing it, the British, who have always been refusing, now got the opportunity to say, since nobody is doing it, we just relax. And Australia that was already saying that they are bringing it for loan, which we Bako have already been antagonizing them that we will never accept loan. That is how the Germans started as well. That is why the British started as well. So we that were fighting them online, to be honest with you, we are pulled back. And you know we live in Western world. You know it yourself, my sister. If you are not pressurizing anything from the white side of the Western side of it, they relax. So we have relaxed, and they relax. They got the opportunity to relax. And if this momentum dies, I'm sorry, this artifact, fight will be over, and these artifacts will remain here. That is the situation so far.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that update. So I wrote some questions down. You said the German newspaper is saying that the German people were duped.
Yeah.
What do you think prompted them to make that statement?
Yes, because, I said it. When Tinubu, His Excellency, President Tinubu was sworn in, then he made it clear. I think our Majesty, the Oba of Benin, went to Abuja to meet him. So he made it clear to him that every artifact will be returned to you, because he is the custodian of it, and they will be returned to you. That did not go well with the people in Germany. That didn't go well with their press. That didn't go with them. They just said these artifacts don't supposed to go to the Oba of Benin, because to them they said if it goes to the Oba of Benin will not allow it to be on display. Then the public will not have access to it. So for the Germans, they want this artifact to be on display so that everybody will have access to them. So because they are the one building the Emuwa Museum, while the Oba of Benin is saying that the Benin Royal Museum should be built. So this is where the whole thing got complicated. Right. The German government is sponsoring Emuwa Museum. Why the Oba of Benin, His Royal Majesty, he is soliciting for Benin museums. So this is where the whole thing, the German government now think that they have invested so much on the Emuwa. If the Oba of Benin is having these artifacts, he might not mind them with the Emuwa. So they feel they have been tricked. So that is where the whole thing came up from.
So it's very clear to us right now that they were returning those artifacts on certain condition.
Very well.
Certain condition. And it seems that the Nigerian government does not meet that condition right now.
It was a gesture. All of us were happy, and we are still happy. At least there was a movement, and some of these artifacts facts were returned. Because every Benin man, when we were growing up, we have this saying from our parents. They repeated it, and we keep saying it. So bringing even one or two is already a victory. So the German returning it, let's give them that respect. But this is government to government dealings. So there is always conditions. There is always give and take. So Nigeria government have to compromise certain things. The German government have to compromise certain things. They cannot just bring it like that and say, okay, now you just take it. No. But the pressure has to be there from the people, because that is what the Western world, because they are democratic people. So that is why whenever they are doing anything they are doing here, they will invite me. They will invite me. The last time I went with my brother, Arembua, because he's running a TV online show here. So they want people to represent the Edo people. They want the public to be involved. So this is why they are democratic. So they
want to sample people's opinion. People's opinion about the return of these artifacts. They would have get that done before they even promise of returning these artifacts. But now let me bring Barrister NY here. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? Let me go ahead, sir.
Well, there is quite a large number of articles written about the current situation of those Benin artifacts. There was an article written by a journalist called Guy Chezan in the German Politics paper in Berlin, dated the 19th of May 2023. So it is quite a recent article. Now, what appeared in that article did raise the issues that my colleague, the first speaker, just raised. Germany had assumed that ownership of the bronzes would rest with the Nigerian government. At the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, that they call the NCMM. But in a decree issued in March, the outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari said they would be entrusted to the Oba of Benin Kingdom. Now, that decree identified the Oba Latokbe, as the original owner and custodian of the culture, heritage, and tradition of the people of Benin Kingdom, and granted him, the Oba Latokbe, ownership of all repatriated artifacts to the exclusion of any other person or people and or institutions. So the Oba of Benin had the absolute and sovereign right over these repatriated artifacts. Now, the German government said it was a matter for the Nigerians. Now, I would quote the statement made by Christopher Burger, spokesman for the German Foreign Ministry, said in Germany, and he stated that Germany had no say in the object's fate once they were returned, adding the restitution was unconditional. Now, this is the statement of a German Foreign Affairs spokesman, saying that the return of these repatriated artifacts was unconditional. He went further to say where the returned bronzes will be legally held and how they will be made accessible to the people of Nigeria, those are things for the sovereign state of Nigeria to decide, he said. But the problem that the German institution or the German political institution are having in respect of the return is the opposition party. Now, there is a lady, one of the opposition party members, I think that person's name is Dorothy Barr. She is an MP for the conservative CDU/CSU. Now, she maintained the position that the pieces will vanish into the private possession of a Nigerian king, and that this was a public good that Germany was doing to right the wrong of the effects of their activities during the period of colonialism. But that the fact that the destination of these artifacts is now going to end with the Oba of Benin, thus to some extent encroaches on the public good that Germany was trying to implement or to carry on. Now, the question that stemmed from this, and I haven't read the article, what was going on in my mind and what still burdens my mind is the question, does Nigeria as a sovereign state have the right to decide where these objects are held? If the answer is yes, then what is the controversy? I don't understand what the controversy is. Now, as many commentators have indicated, now these artifacts were looted and from my previous comments, stolen, if I may use an aggressive word, from the palace of the Oba of Benin during the lootage of 1897. The United Kingdom of Great Benin Empire was a sovereign state when these artifacts were looted. The Oba of Benin was the sovereign monarch in charge of that kingdom when these artifacts were looted. Now, the Oba of Benin commissioned the production of these artifacts, paid for the productions of these artifacts, not the Nigeria state as it is today, post-independent. Not the Nigerian state as it is today. So we must respect the status quo. Now, the principle of restitution or the legal doctrine that underpins restitution provides that the original owner must be identified. And this is where I support the decree that President Muhammadu Buhari passed in March. that the original owner must be identified and brought to the original position as if this incident of 1897 never transpired in the first place. So I wonder whether the German authorities are just seizing this as an opportunity to jump on a bandwagon that is unnecessary. I do appreciate that the German government has spent, I'm aware, about 5 million euros that was transferred to our current governor Obaseki, for the building of this museum called Emua. But that has now been overtaken by the fact that the Buhari administration has now deemed to pass a decree. Now, my position is whether, Tinubu is there, whether this happened, obviously this happened during the period that Buhari was in power, is irrelevant and immaterial. The Nigerian state had passed a decree and entrusted the ownership and custody of these artifacts to the Oba of Benin. Now, the German governments are not in a position to dictate where these artifacts should then go thereafter, insofar as the Nigerian Federation has acknowledged that the original owners of these artifacts is the Oba of Benin. That is an unquestionable legal, moral, social, ethical standpoint. That the Nigeria is a sovereign nation, just like Germany. And we're no longer in the period of colonialism, of slavery. They have no jurisdiction whatsoever to interfere with the return of those artifacts, to dictate where Nigerians decide to send those artifacts to. My position is that the position adopted by President Muhammadu Buhari should be upheld, not only by this administration, by any subsequent administration, and that the government of that state, of Edo State, should respect the position of the federal government, and that these artifacts, so that they should collaborate. There should be some collaboration between the state government, the Oba of Benin Palace, and of course, the federal government have made their position very clear. So I don't understand. I find it very difficult to comprehend the position of the German authorities. It's as if they're seeking any opportunity whatsoever not to return those artifacts, which is quite worrying.
Re-explain all what I said. Yes, exactly what you said, exactly what is going on. So there is one point I just want to make, that Tinubu coming in, whatever decision they are making, they might make after Buhari is irrelevant. I don't think so. They were expecting Tinubu to revise whatever Buhari said. So that did not work. That is what irritated the Germans. Presently, what I just wanted to push in here is that it is we Edo people that need our things. If we Edo people cannot stand to say the pressure we were mounting before, if we slack, no matter the agreement that was written, the German government are not going to bog in any way. We have to keep the fight on. We should even be thinking of a bigger thing now, that the damages the British government caused us by dismantling a standard functioning government of Benin people should be compensated. If we start pulling them in their I don't know the language to use, putting their eggs, then we speak. If we don't speak, because I've struggled with these people for a long time. I know how they go. Because we slack now, that is why the German government are relaxed. Let us reactivate today the way back home, because there was nothing they were doing here that we were not informed. Even the biggest museum in Germany, in Berlin, Homburg Museum in Berlin, 2021, I was invited to speak there, and I addressed them. So they need all these things to really see how we feel. If we are not talking, they will not be talking. Now, the museum, which they invested money on, it can still be in Benin. Why not? The mover should be there. Then, we, the Edo people, if the palace agree for us to do it, we have the capacity to build our own museum, which is the Benin Royal Museum. If we have 10 museums in Benin, what is the problem? Benin City should be the cultural capital of Nigeria. I have said it before. I have said it to the ambassador here. I have said it to many of the Nigerian officials that though Benin City should be the cultural city of Nigeria, if not for the whole Africa. If we have 200 museums there, we deserved it. So we, the Edo people, we have to learn, if we were allowed anyway. Like Bako had the capacity to campaign, to rally all the Edo people. Benin, to get museum. I'm sorry, my sister, let me just come.
Yes.
If we have museum in Benin,
let me quickly
Ghana will return artifacts.
I will come to you back. Princess, Dr. Princess Teresa, sorry about that. Go ahead. Okay, let me unmute you here.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Tell us your insight and your opinion about this German museum returning Benin artifacts back to Nigeria, and they are planning to return these artifacts with certain condition that it's not working with the palace where those artifacts were originally looted. So go ahead.
Thank you very much for the privilege and the honor. Thank you, distinguished elders. I will talk or focus on this issue from the perspective as an art researcher, that is an art expert. I've been privileged, or I could say I've been involved in some provenance research studies covering this Benin study and Benin bronzes. My first take, which I have always made so much emphasis on, I've had discussions with some German museums and American museums, even had lectures on with Pratt University in New York and so on. I have told oftentimes that we need to desist from the use of the word artifact. It's a huge problem. Artifacts are works of art, either through excavation or gifts over the years found and placed in museums. But for us, I believe that Benin bronzes should not just be seen as artifacts because they are beyond artifacts. They are meant they are not meant to be in museums. They are things, they are works of art that were found on altars. We Edo Benin people, I see them as sacred objects, religious objects, objects of our ancestors. I think most of these European museums or curators think since these works are seen as artifacts, they are meant to be in museums. And that is why they have went extra mile to say they want to build the MOA, they want these works back in the museum. And I have engaged them oftentimes that these works are not artifacts. They are not mere artifacts.
Exactly.
They are our ancestors. They are our ancestral blessings. And where I fault them is they should have carried out genuine research or findings who the rightful owners are. From history, since Benin 1897, the Benin Primitive Expedition, it is clear where the works came from. They were looted directly. At least 90% were from the palace, where the king, a sitting king, was exiled and killed. And the works, his palace, was looted and burnt down. So there is no excuse that who are the owners, where should the work go? Of course, there should be a bilateral relationship since it involves two countries internationally. I now go to the aspect where I talk about the politics involved. There's so much power play, so much tussles and intrigues involved in this Benin return restitution. And I think the key stakeholders, we cannot avoid this. We're looking at the government. Definitely, they have to represent the country where we come from, the Edo Benin people. The federal government and the state government have to work together through their ministers or their commissioners. Fine. But then the major key stakeholder is the palace of the Oba of Benin, that is the Oba of Benin and his traditional councils and rulers. Then the third group, which are the artists, the key stakeholders, the arts institutions, and the guilds that were responsible for these works. I visited the guilds the last time and tears rolled down my eyes, looking at where these great works emerged from, how dilapidated it has become. So that is another story for another time. And looking at these politics, after my several discussions with the Germans and Americans, I realized that there's this politics of reparation. They have these uncertainty. There is a fear, the intrigues behind them. One, I recognize that the painful circumstances of their removal, which led to the separation from the rightful owner, that is the Oba. The existence of many stakeholders with different conflicting interests, including both the local and the global stakeholders. And then the difficult conversation about the role of the colonial masters in the looting of these art treasures, and also the roles played by most of these museums. But many of these Western museums have come to recognize the need to repatriate these religious items, which are held in their public collections, and they were acquired through illegal or legally or morally unjustifiable today. Some of the intrigues I identified personally were: one, the plunderers' fear for the future and how they will remain relevant when these looted Benin bronzes are removed from their museums. They have this fear of having empty museum walls. The cost of compensation, like Prof spoke about just now, the Edo Benin people need to be compensated. The cost of compensation that comes with reparation, the concern over bearing the reputational damage to the institution, and they should not forget the ancestral costs, Ebo, the ancestral cost and agony that is attached to them hanging on to what does not belong to them. People depriving the Edo Benin people of their spiritual connection, because these are things from our ancestors. So the looters and their reputation is at stake at this point. And for me, I think if they genuinely have a motive, a genuine motive of returning these bronzes, it should be unconditionally, and they should think of compensations coming with it. Perhaps I stop at this point. There's still room for more contributions.
Thank you. Lady Agabiomo Ubewi. Oh my goodness. Mommy, I'm trying to bring you to the screen. Okay, go ahead. Yes, we can hear you, Ma. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, and thank you. I want to thank all my brothers and my sweet sister, Professor Owese, Wayafe Wawese. Everything that everyone has said makes a whole lot of sense. What I want to add, I'm supporting what you have all said, what Barrister said, what our brother Mr. Ode said. My sister just said they should not be called artifacts. 100% agree with that. They are religious, they are ancestors. They have been holding them in bondage for so long. They need to bring them back. If not, they'll be jumping from one trouble to another because of what they are holding. They need to bring them back to us. The only thing I want to remind us here is that our people are the cause of this problem. I've seen some connivance between the German, because when Mr. Ogeriaki just said they were releasing these artifacts to us unconditionally.
Yes.
How did they change their mind? Now that they now want to sponsor MOA, and they now want to give it to us with conditions. That was not the original agreement. That was not the original thing they said. But because our people from us may have connived with them.
Yes.
Sold them the idea. We still want you to be in control. They were very disappointed when General Muhammadu Buhari said the Oba of Benin should be the sole custodian and the sole owner when they bring them back. But the thing is, they don't want to agree because of their own selfish interest. Their own selfish interest they are having. That is why they don't want to release those things to us. It's our people, not the German. The German people that are doing it, they were told that don't worry, we will give you so much money. You will be getting, you will still be having control over this thing, but help us do this. Don't let us give it to the Oba of Benin. They were stolen from the palace. Most of them were. You could see the picture when they took picture at that time in 1897 before they left. The stolen artifacts were there. They sat beside the stolen artifact at the palace. Why would anybody, like one of our speakers said, if the Germans said they want to give it to Nigeria government, Nigeria government said, I know the owners of this artifacts or this religious work. I want to give it back to them. What is the business of German? Is it not for them to give it to Nigeria government? The Nigeria government know the owner of those wonderful works, and they give it to them. Now, our people in Benin or from Edo State went to I believe they went to Germany to connive with them so that they can make some money, because they believe in getting something up front so much. So they are going to, it's their own personal gain. They are not interested in Benin. They are not patriotic Benin people. It's their own personal gain that they want. So please, for God's sake, our brothers and sisters, please, let us not rest. Those people that have Nigeria, Benin at heart, let us continue to have that in mind and continue to talk and continue to remind them whatever we have, whatever strength we can to bring these artifacts to us, these religious objects to us, and give it to the rightful owner. Let us not rest. Let us continue to do it until it is given to us. Okay, no way bad day. So that is what we need to do.
Thank you, ma. So I will quickly add to what Mommy just said regarding this artifact, that probably there was an agreement between the German Museum and the Nigerian government. We know who we are talking about, that those artifacts will still be under the control of the German Museum if they are returned. Probably that was the reason why the German Museum promised to return more than 1,000 artifacts back to Nigeria. Have you ever seen any museum, Western museum, planning to return that much artifacts? It was the agreement that was made between the Nigerian government and the German Museum that prompted them to promise to return more than 1,000 artifacts. I bet you no Western museum will return that much artifacts unconditionally. Never. The British Museum, there's a myth in the UK right now that if they return Benin artifacts back to Nigeria, that the British Museum will collapse. So do you think British Museum will promise to return all Benin artifacts, knowing fully well that the Benin artifacts are the most popular artifacts in their museum? The same thing applies to the German Museum.
Keeping my contribution and my findings is that it's very clear that the negotiation continues. However, we, the Benin artists, the Edo Benin artists, because I'm an artist, would continue with the Benin art, that is in terms of the contemporary art, make more history. Make history by creating new frontiers. I was once asked, one of the interviews I had, that since 1897, what have we Edo Benin people done? What value have we added? I know they were quite a little bit irrelevant, but it did hit something in my being, that what are we Benin artists really doing? We need to make more history. History by creating new frontiers for the future of Benin art. And that raised some posers about these restitution issues. What are these Benin bronzes? Are we defining the salient features of these Benin bronzes? And why have they become this famous? You know, we own these works, but do we really know the works? These people have had the privilege of over 126 years of studying the Benin bronzes. And that gave me a privilege of looking deep into these works when I gave birth to my project called Benin Iconography. That is the second aspect of it is the Onanagbene. But then in terms of the posers, we need to look at the story of this restitution, the journey so far, and the very necessary steps we need to take. And also still looking at the aspect of the key stakeholders. I said about the government, both federal and state, the urban, you know, and then the artist. It has to be collaborative. And then the imperatives of provenance research and the driving forces. We are in a different century now. We need to really go deeper into these works. And then the restitution as a new frontier of opportunity. How do we revive and enhance increased visibility, even without the works being there? How do we do this? And then use it in promoting our arts and culture. Art as an inspiration, also as an inspiration to the Edo Benin artists, in order for them to unleash further creativity, because we are still the same people producing this work. We only reincarnate again and again. That's my understanding, that the Edo Benin people are born artists. So also we need to engage in this further research provenance studies and also revamping our Igun streets. That is where it all started. In terms of integrating bronze casting into our curriculum, Edo Benin school curriculums. I do not know if the younger generation can do bronzes, you know, bringing it back into school curriculums, particularly in Edo Benin. That will then enhance and develop our tourism industry in Benin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the Good Street should be renovated, and those artists should be upgraded. You know,
they are working. Honestly, like what our sister have said. I'm sorry. They are working. You can still go to Igun today and get a lot of artwork being done. Everyone.
Yeah. Hello.
Infrastructure.
Hello, ma. Can you hear us? Oh.
Yes.
Just
okay.
to tip in,
yes, I can hear you.
I can't raise a hand on my system. I don't know. My phone is not showing me where to raise hand. So I just want you to know.
Okay, then. We have Professor Igbine Weka joining us from California today, sir. Hello, sir. Can you hear us clearly?
Yes. Thank you all. Though I'm fighting with my system all along. I'm hearing you very faintly, but I can say something. And thank you for inviting me. And
have you been listening to our?
Oh yes, sometimes when they kick me out, I log back in. So I've been following.
So we are discussing about what exactly is delaying the Chama Museum.
I had everything. I had everything. So my little comment is we've all said very vital things about the restitution issue, and one of my sisters during her commentary said we shouldn't call it artifact. First of all, we need to define or get a proper Edo name to replace the word artifact. And then also, my sister, Lady Abiamo Ogbewi, said a lot too. So therefore, she said something very important, that the main problem is from the Edo people themselves. And in Yoruba language, Yoruba has a proverb. They said, "Kokoro tó ń jẹ ewé, inú ìwé ló wà," meaning the ant or insect that eats the vegetable lives inside the vegetable, meaning the whole thing, all this drama is stimulated from the Edo people themselves who are clamoring for the return of the stolen items. So we need to dig into that area if we're going to get proper grip of this artifact. Then coming to the federal government, thank you, the barrister. You said a lot. May I suggest that we cause the federal government to write or to get involved and let the German government stop all this rigmarole return of these items. They've returned this item to us. It's as property. Nigeria is a sovereign state. Therefore, they should not dictate what the federal government does with the item. And that letter, to me, should contain, if they want Edo people to manufacture or create new, like Lady Abiamo said, we are artists. We can always create. We can always invent. So if they want us to do it for them, then we enter into contractual agreement for that. But this one, it is our property. And it's not just ordinary artifact, like our sister said. There are a lot of spiritual connections to it. Let me give you a quick example. My ex-wife is an African American lady. Before we got into a relationship, she said she used to gather Edo artifacts everywhere she finds it. Listen. She said she had to stop it. Why? She said when she was in the living room a couple of times, some of these things she sees some of these artifacts, all this all this in the not there wherever she find at the flea market. She said some of these things will be moving, and she closed her eye, blink her eye, she won't see them anymore. That she got terrified, and then she had to take them back to the flea market. Now that is to tell you, this is an African American person, not even a Nigerian, not an African. So they should tell these German people that there are a lot of things behind what they are playing with. My mother used to tell me, once upon a time, somebody took my promotion in my job in NTA that time. I was the next person to be promoted. A lady used up her power and took it. I cried to my late mom. You know what she told me? She said, "Stop, my son. Omara, he even no hekewe, anyway. No, we wanna do it. You're not me away. Or you swear with it. Meaning somebody takes my thing, what rightful belong to me. When it's time, that person will return that thing together along with his or her own item. And this is where the German government are right now. And unfortunately, they don't know. They are returning our stolen item, and they they are now returning it back to us with their own item in addition. So I said all this to say that we should pressurize the federal government. Thank God Tinubu is for us to write to the German government to back off. Thank you. You have returned our item. Now onward, we have to decide what to do with it. And then for the issue of the two museums that in questions, we should plead with our leaders, the governor and the Oba, to mend. Obanya to I say we Obanya maybe Obano, any man, whoever knows the governor should please talk to him to back off this property, it belongs to the Oba. It was taken, they were taken from the palace. If they want to create a different museum, that could be political museum or commercial museum, but this item belongs to the palace, and it should be controlled under the control of Omonoba Nedu Kwakbolokbolo. Oba Atokbe. He said, with that, I rest my case for now. I may come back as we progress in the discussion. We're here, we're resting.
Thank you, sir. I think the German Museum did make a proper arrangement with the federal government, you know, at the initial stage. So it's what is affecting them right now. And the fact they have been duped, according to what they have been written, you know, I think the fact they have been duped by the Nigerian government because the arrangement was not properly made with the federal government. So
sorry,
yeah,
they dupe themselves. Sorry, they should be made known that they dupe themselves if they use that language. They dupe themselves. That item didn't belong to them.
Because their plan was to build a museum in Edo State, while the museum will house those artifacts. But it's not working with the federal government, because the federal government is saying now that those artifacts should be returned to the Oba of Benin.
I don't know why
and they have already invested in the museum. They have already invested.
Yeah, that's where they dupe themselves. Sorry to interfere to disturb it. They dupe themselves because before they start building whatever museum they build, they should put the palace into the primary contact.
They didn't do that.
They didn't do that, so they dupe themselves. That language should be returned back to them.
Yes, they did it.
Yes.
You know, the power of the Oba of Benin, the ownership of the Oba of Benin was undermined during the process, the negotiation.
Please, if chance is free, let me add a word because I can't really raise hand as I said.
Okay, she might wanted to say something quickly. Let me go ahead. After that, Mr. Addison will add to it. Then we'll bring a barrister Ogiriake again.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Guneweka. The German government cannot say they have been duped because those things does not belong to them. Why would they reach an agreement with Edo State government? Edo State government is not Nigeria government.
No.
If they want to deal country to country, they should be dealing with Nigeria government, not Edo State government. That was why I said there's a kind of connivance somewhere that we have on patriotic Benin people, Edo Benin people, that is doing this kind of nonsense. They need to stop and give it to the owner, the rightful owner. We know the Oba of Benin has always been the leader of the Benin people. Oba Uyedo. We need to follow that, please. So we need to follow that, and nobody duped them. They duped themselves. They know what they were headed to because of their selfish intention. That was why they had an agreement with whether government they had the agreement with. They did not. Why did they not invite the Oba? Why did they not tell to the Oba? When they know those things were stolen. German people know Benin so well because Germans were the first to come to Benin to learn Edo language. The first Edo dictionary was written by the German man. They know the history of Benin.
Exactly.
They know.
Exactly. You know, you will be wondering why German Museum promised to return more than 1,000 artifacts, you know, because they were planning to return those artifacts with a certain condition that they will still have access to those artifacts in Benin. But it's not working well with the federal government right now. You see? So, let me bring Ogiriake, Barrister Ogiriake. Are you there?
Yes. So I've been following the discussion. I'm just going to throw some further insights into my earlier contribution. I want the international community and the federal government and all the stakeholders in respect of the interest of these artifacts or Benin bronzes, that there is a convention there was a convention from the remotest antiquity to today. There's the UNESCO Convention of 1970 that provides for the prohibition and the prevention of the import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property within the international community. And that convention has 3 fundamental pillars. Now, the first pillar provides for a preventative measures by the states who are in possession of stolen artifacts. And that provision provides that the treaty are to enforce the security and safety of cultural property, such as taking inventory, preventing exportation illegally of those culturally stolen artifacts. And the second pillar provides for restitution provision, states that each sovereign state, now this is where it gets very interesting. Each sovereign state is to assist one another in the recuperation of stolen cultural property. So the first pillar is to provide for preventative measures to prevent these cultural artifacts being restolen or being exported from one country to another. So they to hold it. Now, the second one is the restitution, that there must be collaboration with 2 state parties, signatories. And guess what? Germany is a signatory state to the UNESCO 1970 Convention. Britain is a signatory to the UNESCO 1970 Convention. Switzerland is there. France is there. Nigeria is even there. So I wonder, and of course, let me just finish the third pillar, because I stated the third pillar. The third pillar is that international cooperation in an attempt by the convention to strengthen international ties between the states. So what we are dealing with here is that the convention itself recognizes collaboration and cooperation within states. So what the German authorities are doing is inconsistent with this convention. Now, I want to also add that the Oba of Benin, Oba Latokbe, he said, he can't tie the program in a way, the king, the Oba Palace is not a private person as such. For the German government authorities to start insinuating that, that the artifacts that belong to our great Oba, what they did to our king. The Oba's palace is not a private place. He is the representative of the culture and tradition of the Benin people. And
of the West Africa.
Of the West Africa. An important spiritual leader and identification figure for the whole community.
Yes.
For the whole community. So this insinuation should stop. And I think I support what the Professor Igbenewaka has suggested. That considering that we now have a status quo, that there's a decree that entrusts the ownership of those artifacts, the custody of those artifacts to the original source, which is what restitution entails, that the federal government, an appeal to the current president of Nigeria, President Tinubu, and the House of Senate, and the House of Representatives, that a letter be issued not just to the German authorities, but to the British authorities, that we have a consensus in Nigeria, that we have reached a consensus in Nigeria as to how we intend to deal with those artifacts, and that under no circumstances should they attempt to dictate to the sovereign state of Nigeria how we go about properties or artifacts of Benin bronzes that they stole and looted from Benin.
Yes.
Those artifacts were taken illegally and unlawfully from the federal, I won't say the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm going to change my word. From the United Kingdom of Great Benin Empire.
Thank you.
This message is being sent to the international community that they cannot rewrite history, And all those who are involved in this backstabbing or going behind and reaching contrary deeds
Yes.
with the
you.
German authorities, they must
Yes.
refrain.
Thank
The
you.
federal government must ask them to refrain, and that they cannot rewrite history. And the history has been done. Our people were murdered during the 1897 expedition. We lost most of our ancestors. They took our king of Obagatokpe to Calabar, where he died. Those properties were stolen, and we want them back. And they should be returned to the United Kingdom of Great Benin Empire unconditionally, because they were not given to them on consent of the Oba of Benin or the people of the Benin Kingdom.
Thank you.
That is all I'm going to say. I want to say it again. I've said this repeatedly in this program. Those individuals who are in the Benin Kingdom, who are orchestrating this backlash or trying to insinuate that they have any kind of lawful ownership over these artifacts, they must realize how those artifacts, those Benin bronzes, were produced. They were commissioned by the then sitting king of that kingdom. And that kingdom was a sovereign nation when those artifacts were stolen. That's where I will end today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. Yes. So if anybody has anything to add to that.
I can only just chip in.
Yes, go ahead.
Am I permitted?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Barrister. Thank you very much, Prof. Mommy, thank you, Ye Nogie. I can only chip in that, honestly, it is extremely wrong.
Yes.
The barrister has made it very clear. It is extremely wrong for these thieves. I refer to them as thieves or looters and offenders, giving condition to the rightful owners. Now, where do you wish to place? Oh, Yidio Wawe, don't be here. Now he wants to return this work. He's asking you, have the energy? Those are the things. They have no right to ask how we are going to keep this work. The custodian of this work, rightfully named, is the Oba of Benin, Oba Latokpe.
Yes, sir.
I now understand why La Mohammed was always reiterating that, these artifacts should be returned back to Nigeria without no condition. He was always reiterating it. When you listen to him carefully when he's having any press report, he always said that I have won the Western Museum to return these artifacts with no condition. Now I know why. Because the German Museum is not willing to return Benin artifacts. You look at it, more than 1,000 Benin artifacts. We were wondering, we said, oh my goodness, Germany, the German government is the best, not knowing that there's a condition attached to it at the initial stage, So, Mr. Addison, go ahead. You wonder why they will return what?
Are you referring to me, my sister?
Yes, go ahead, sir. I know that you're going to add to that.
First of all, let me thank all the speakers. I think this kind of agitation, that is how I started my statement. If we want these artifacts to be returned, whether condition or no condition, we have to keep agitating. There is no other way rather than strong agitation. That is what the West listened to. A non-violent but relentless agitation. That's just all. We, the Edo people, whenever they are doing things here, that is why I'm always being invited. They want to hear the side of Edo people. That is, they respect it a lot. Let me just put out some point. From Professor Iyase from Abuja, please, our Abba was exiled about Vorame, but he wasn't killed.
Thank you.
He died naturally, peacefully, respectively. Please.
Yeah.
So I just want to clear that one. He wasn't killed. He wasn't executed. He died peacefully.
Thank you.
So that point.
Noted.
Yeah. And then the German government, I must say, returning Benin artifacts, please. Whether I don't know if there is a really strong conditions rather than the infight we were doing in Nigeria, which I was strong with doing in Benin in particular, which I was strongly aware of. Those are the things that really put Jamal off. It's not really condition or no condition, because the person that fought in the forefront of these Benin artifacts, he's from Damaturu, Borno State. Now, I don't know if they are still Borno State. Damaturu, that is Ambassador Yusuf Toga. Initially, when this artifact started, we all started the campaign. The Germans were saying that we cannot keep the Benin artifacts. We don't have the facilities. I remember when I sat with the ambassador, he showed me a letter. He showed me a letter he wrote them, that they asked him how many they are returning. He replied them by saying all. Then we all laughed in that meeting. Then I now said, how can they tell us that we don't know how to keep Benin artifacts? These are artifacts that were there for thousands of years before you came to steal them. If we can keep them then, why can't we keep them now? So these are the conditions. And for when they were returning all these things, that was always this case, that we cannot be able to keep them. Number one, they will be stolen. Number two, they could get destroyed because we don't have the facilities. So,
to preserve them.
The only thing I see here is what my sister said, it is our people who, for their own interests, I don't know, that started creating a different atmosphere and try to commercialize Benin artifact rather than making it peacefully that the Benin should celebrate. This is where the problem lies. Because when this issue was going on then, because I always try to put back in saying things in between the Oba and the government, but I'm a Benin man, 100% Benin man. Let me say it the way it is. When this thing was on then, I put a phone call to Professor Barbara. Professor Barbara is the woman that started the return of the artifacts. She's a German lady. She's still here in Hamburg. I put up a call to her. She told me that we are dealing with a legitimate government, which is a Edo government, that they are not dealing with Oba because he was democratically elected. I'm making note to the woman. I said, Professor Barbara, if Edo people interest is not represented, that the governor that's supposed to be part of our interest, then we will fight it last. What I'm saying is, when I met His Excellency Governor Obaseki in Berlin, I'd asked him, because my suggestion all along was that he should go to the palace, that whether you are a president, whether you are a governor, and I'm repeating it here today, as long as you are a Benin man, you are under the Oba of Benin. You are subject to kneel down before Oba of Benin. All of us are great Benin people.
Yes.
We one way or the other. But no matter what, we are not too big to kneel down before the Oba. So when I met him in Berlin, I refer back to him. I said, you remember the message I sent to you? That you should go to the palace and meet the Oba. He replied me by saying, this issue is within the Benin. It should not be discussed in public. That was how he answered. So he knew it fairly well, but he dodged that question and he refused to answer it. This is where the problem lies. Then we have a situation in Benin where somebody was presenting himself as a government voice, democratically elected, and the German government were playing to that. And then we have the Oba of Benin, who the Germans think is subject to the leadership of the governor, so we are not dealing with him. This is how we sold ourselves to them. So to say German's government were doing this for what they're going to get out of it, my sister Nekme, I disagree. German were not there. I live here. They're not really interested in what is going to come out of Benin artifact. They'll make it clear. The leader of a museum in Berlin make it clear there is no money in museum. Whether that's true or not is a question for another day, discussion for another day. Okay. The German government were doing these things for the relationship to remain. Because these artifacts, the agreement they signed, they are not returning all anyway. And I think our Oba of Benin, Oba Atokbe, made it clear too that his present one, that the father told him all should not be returned. So nobody was really campaigning to return all the artifacts. So should stay here, a part of the history, and should stay there. So that was the agreement they signed. The bone of contention here, what makes the whole thing look messy, is the fact that the governor of Edo State and his government were having a different opinion or different idea, whatever they have, different from the Edo people and the Oba of Benin. So this is where the whole thing gets messy. So, yeah, but again, I want to declare one statement here. What the impression here? What I wrote. It is not the German government that stole the Benin artifacts. It is the British that stole.
Thank you. I wonder how the German came in.
Yes.
So the artifacts that the German had, it was given to them by the
British. Yes.
So they bought some. Because when the British brought them to Europe, remember, British told them that those things were stolen, they were taken from one bush. So for the other people, they really don't know where it was taken. They really thought it was taken from one bush like that. Then they started sharing them to all different parts of the world, then selling them. Some of them. It's
No.
Right.
I'm sorry, Mr. Out there. They didn't tell them they was taken from one bush. They told them where they took them from, and the Germany became interested. That was why they came to Benin. Exactly. The presence of the Germans were very fat in Benin. They started having business enterprises in Benin, and they were very interested in Benin, the culture and the tradition. Like I said earlier, it was a German man that started speaking Benin language and even wrote a dictionary, a dictionary. It was a German man. Because
you know that
when they stole those things from, they became interested in Benin and they came to Benin.
If you look at history, let me quickly go back to history. When you look at history, the German people, the Dutch people were in Benin. They even contributed to the development and civilization of the ancient Benin Kingdom. However, during the Berlin Conference, where it's now known as Nigeria, was not given to the German people. That was the reason their presence was not really felt during the British punitive expedition in Benin. But the German people are no stranger to the Benin Kingdom. If we look at the history of Benin and the Europeans during the early contact.
Okay,
so yes, go on.
Okay, I just want to round up briefly. So my sister, Professor Iya said that the German, they didn't do research before coming. No, of course, they did research.
They know.
This woman, Professor Barbara Plankensteiner, who ran this campaign, she's originally from Austria, but that woman did a lot of research inside the Oba Palace. That is why that is how she fell in love with all these things, and she started the campaign to return all these artifacts in Europe. So, and that is why whenever they are coming to Benin, that woman is always, she's always there.
She wrote a book. She's
always there. So they know the history, they know everything. The problem lies in what our sister said, we ofenorowa or taminoroegemirowa. This is where the problem lies.
I think, yes, thank you, sir. We have to end this program today. Why next time we'll come back again, because it's getting too long now.
That's beautiful.
For more than 1 hour, 20 minutes. I think we have to come back again. We can be doing this maybe 2 times in a month. 2 times in a month. You know, we need to come back next time and continue with this discussion. I know that Barrister Ugeriake has a lot to share with us, and everybody as well. We have a lot to share about this ongoing restitution of Benin artifacts. But let's do it next time. We can come back next week, even next 2 weeks, right? So I will talk to everybody soon. Ijima, thank you, Princess. Oh my goodness. I can't believe this. All the way from Nigeria, you see, those people who are stereotyping Nigerian network. Look
it
at
is not everything we are bad. It's not everything.
Exactly. I will say, Wadomo. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Lady Nekwe. Thank you.
All right.